My name is Mike Sanka. I'm the CEO and founder of eThority. eThority delivers data talent, as Bill had said, a workforce analytics platform that delivers dashboarding, interactive reporting, and analytics with a zero-cost license. So before I jump into the overview of the application, I wanted to see a show of hands of people in the audience who have all of their data in one system, one place, everything. Okay, 1, 2. So I'm guessing 1% of the organization. So that highlights a really important aspect of workforce analytics, and one of the challenges that we face is getting the data in one place, to get a global view of your data. So now, we've got a lot of really cool technology to show, but when I did my demonstration for Bill, Bill said, hey, make sure you tell a story. It's important to put it in context. And for those of you who know Bill, he used a little saltier language with me when he requested it. But we're going to tell a story in relation to this. So this is a story of you, someone who needs to have access to your data. So the very first thing that you want to do is say, hey, I need to evaluate my staff, and my data is everywhere. I've got data, employee demographics in an HRIS. I've got my test scores in an online cloud-based SaaS solution. And I've got my payroll in the ERP. And you need to organize all of this data and pull it in. So one of the first tenets of our platform is to organize that. So first, I'm going to pull my employee data in from the HRIS. Then I want to say, well, I want to see their last test score because I want to evaluate their performance. So I'll pull that in from the LMS system. And finally, I want to pull the payroll data in. I want to see their last bonus and see how that works. Now, when we get data delivered to us from any system, this is another really important aspect. It's important to be interactive with your data environment. One of the things that we've seen time and time again is this bash people over the head with 1,000 reports syndrome, and it always fails. 8 columns has a minimum of 40,000 permutations. We could never guess what you want. Our objective is to give you interaction. So I don't want to see engineers. The user should be able to get rid of those, say, I only want to look at salespeople. And they might want to sort by the bonus. Then the user says, then the next step in the process, they're going to want to say, look, I need to restrict departmental access to just their data. So it isn't enough for it to be user-friendly. You have to distribute in a secure and compliant environment. So having an enterprise security layer that allows each department to only see their data, restrict access to that particular area. Now the next element, I need a performance factor, and it's not in any system. One of the big issues for organizations is, and the term is Excel hell, where everyone disconnects their data set because all the data doesn't exist in the system, in the data warehouse, and so they add their own performance factor. This is a real problem for organizations, and one of the things that the data talent platform in eThority looks to solve, allow you to extend that data set in a secure and compliant way and share and publish that data. So in this instance, it's a performance factor. They also say, hey, look, I want to do some what-ifing. I want to include proposed bonuses for these individuals. So this dynamic of going through a process and saying, hey, I want to shape data, continue to enhance that information. Then they go to the next step and say, well, what should my staff be scoring on these tests? And so benchmarks. We need to be able to look at internal benchmarks, and we need to be able to look at benchmarks that we pull in from external organizations so we can measure our performance for comparison. You then may say, well, I want to be alerted to benchmarks. I want to know if people are exceeding those benchmarks or falling below those benchmarks. So once again, an interactive data experience that you define. Finally, they'll say, look, I want to compare this information, and then I want to publish this information automatically to other people. Another big time sinkhole for organizations is the amount of time they spend on redoing the same work month after month. So the eThority platform and the data talent platform are architected in a way that when you spend that time and do that work, it can be automated and reused on a regular basis. Okay, before we go into the platform and show some of the software, we're always asked the question, what type of user are you looking to serve with your application? And there are 3 distinctive types of users that we look to serve with the application. Those who can count and those who can't. So now I want to solve a problem here, and the first problem I want to solve is we've got a new hiring initiative, and we've been told, hey, we've got to hire some new employees for the organization. We've got a new sales initiative. We want to start to grow volume of customers as opposed to individual customers. But the first question we want to ask when we hire is, well, what's the best type of employee that we can have within our organization? So I'm looking at my employee pool here. I've pulled in data from multiple systems. So you can see on the left, and it might be a little small here. We may need to zoom that in. I can see that we've got degree, their college information, their total sales. So I've pulled that in from the sales system. I've got cognitive test scores from the LMS system. So this file has combined multiple data sources. So I want to look at my salespeople, my individual contributors. So I drag a filter condition up there and say, yes, individual contributor. I want to make sure they've taken the test. So I can drag cognitive test score up there and say, I want to say, well, anyone who has a 0, let's exclude those records. And so you can see everything is very drag and drop in that process. And then I want to say, well, I want to take an average of a couple of factors here. And I also want to look at an average of their total sales. And then I want to group by whether or not they graduated from school. So this is a way that I can filter and say, hey, is there a difference? I know we have a lot of non-graduates in our organization. Boy, I would assume the college grads do better than the non-college grads. And this elaborates an interesting point about analytics and the analytics process. If you look here in this particular data set, it's been cleansed to protect the innocent. But what we see here is for our organization, it actually turns out that the people who didn't graduate have a higher average total sales and have a higher cognitive test score. So what does that let us know, and what do we tell our recruiters? It's no big deal. For our organization, it's no big deal they didn't graduate college. And once again, that's an unexpected result. One of the values of an analytics platform is when it delivers you an unexpected result. Okay, so now that we've got our platform, we go through, we understand, we say, well, now we want to hire salespeople. We understood we want to hire salespeople that are going to sell to more accounts as opposed to larger accounts. So it's going to drop our overall average sales, but we know we're going to get more accounts. Now we want to prove to the executives that our campaign worked, right? One of the big issues in workforce analytics is you need to get credit for the hard work that you've done. And so now we've combined multiple data sets again. We're looking at the salespeople, we're looking at their current salaries, what they've done. We can also see gross revenue here, new customers, and we also have whether or not they were part of our campaign in the far right-hand side. Were they part of our new initiative? And so what I want to do is I want to group by new initiative, yes or no, and I want to look and I want to see what the average gross sales were and the average new customers. So this is once again an interactive process. You know, sending out 1 million canned reports isn't going to work. These are questions distinctive to your organization. Go ahead and hit refresh. And we can see here that in our new initiative, we've got lower gross revenue. When we say new initiative hire, yes, but we can see, in fact, that the average number of new customers is 10 versus 6. So we can now come to the executive team and say our hiring program worked, we brought in new staff, and we're upping our user count. Obviously, they would go to do that to do additional upsell. Well, let's say we wanted to evaluate one of our individuals here. And this is sort of a cool feature. We can grab any particular individual in that, and this is Tracy Thompson. Let's click on that and click the Evaluate tab. And we get these instant analytics columns. And what they do without any programming is they analyze all of the units. So we're looking at units sold, current salary. I can pull up their performance. And let's say I said, well, I want to look at their units sold, and I want to compare that to their bonus. So let's get rid of performance as well. And we can see that this individual, Thompson, is at the 44th percentile for units sold, but they're bonused at the 59th percentile. Well, maybe that lets us know, hey, maybe we need to change our compensation plan. Let's take a deeper dive into units sold. Well, we can see our maximum of 1550. We've got an average there and the actual number. Let's say we wanted to look at all of our people in units sold. We can click a histogram. And we can pull up and see a distribution of information and data about all of our salespeople, the number of units. And if I said, well, I want to pull the people who sold the top number of units, I can marquee around those points and get a new data set from that. So I've got the ability to continue to track and manage. Well, this is great. Let's say we said, okay, now I want to get this information out to somebody else. So I can go through, and you can go ahead and cancel that. And let's save this data book so we can show some of the security. So we're going to save our data book, and now I've got to figure out how I want to share it. Do I want to give it to everybody globally? Or maybe I just want to share it within my department. And when I share it within my department, I can then go ahead and pick the organizational segment. that I want to save this within. I'll let you pick one and we'll select that out. I can also lock this, prevent export, and manage that information out. I also can add keywords, and I can save this in a particular library. So my ability to author new content and share that with my peers in the organization in a secure way really allows for collaboration and sharing of best practices within your organization, creating that content. Now if I wanted to send this data book, I could click on send, and I've got the ability to pick individuals and schedule that. And if I said, let's go ahead and schedule this, I want to schedule this, send it once a week, every Sunday, I've got the ability to do that as well. Finally, let's jump out into a dashboard. So what we're looking at is a candidate pipeline dashboard. So every one of those elements can be pulled together, segmented into a system, and let's highlight new leads by prospect date. And let's say we wanted to develop a trend around new leads so we could figure out how many recruiters to hire. I can click the trend and we can see we've got leads based on year, and I can automatically forecast out based on what we're doing, how we can manage information. So that's a quick overview of the eThority and Data Talent Platform. Once again, a zero-cost license for both direct customers and for our OEM channel partners. The objective here is to remove the barrier and allow all organizations to have access to the benefits of effective workforce analytics. Thank you.